have no respect for women who voted for Trump, okay?
Yeah, me too.
I think so poorly of them, and the reason why is because, look, I don't think that you're a single issue voter. I just think you're dumb.
Give us one in our lifetime, please, right? So Trump tells you what you want to hear and then doesn't deliver it.
I'm gonna say something that you're gonna disagree with, but this is my view of Trump versus whoever the Democratic candidate typically is. Trump actually listens to his supporters.
I know Trump's a con man. Nobody's talked more about what a con man he is than I have.
At the end of the day, what's been clear to me is that he seems to have more respect for his constituents, for his base, than Democrats do.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and back to a brand new video. So today's video, we're gonna go over a pretty shocking clip in my opinion. So as many of you guys know, I used to be on the left many moons ago and I used to watch The Young Turks. Now, those of you who don't know, The Young Turks is a left-wing progressive news show. I guess it's the best way to say it. On YouTube, they have over 5 million followers or subscribers. A lot of them are socialist and they believe in, Medicare for all, very progressive policies and perspectives. And when I was on the left, I used to fall more in line with their views. I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, all that stuff. Maybe I'll do a video one day explaining my past politically in more detail. But one of the co-hosts of The Young Turks who's been there for years is Kasparian, who is a very well-known liberal progressive woman. Recently though, she's been making some statements and some changes. Now, she was somebody who absolutely hated Donald Trump, like I did. She couldn't stand him. In fact, the night that he won, I remember her going on a tangent about how she respects no female that would ever vote for him, and she was just disgusted.
Okay, I think you're dumb. When you vote for someone who openly treats women like second-class citizens, who talks about them as if they're nothing more than a piece of meat, who has been accused of sexually assaulting them, who has been caught on tape talking about groping them and grabbing them by the without consent. Yeah, you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
And for many years, she hated him. She hated MAGA. She hated Republicans and their perspectives, and she just didn't see anything other than her own side and her own perspective until things started shifting in her own personal life. Now, she resides in California, and as we know, California, the joke right now with Gavin Newsom and with the homeless rates and the crazy taxes. It's not safe, the streets are a mess, and the drug epidemic is just rising in that state. And she's been coming to realizations that liberal policies don't really work in some of these cases, and she's starting to realize that she's actually more right-leaning on some issues than she thought that she was originally. And her perspective on Trump, this is the big one, her perspective on Trump has completely shifted. Now, her co-host, Cenk Uygur, is a crazy nut job. He has Trump derangement syndrome. He always has. If you watch any Piers Morgan clips, he's usually on them screaming and yelling about Donald Trump and Republicans. So it's interesting to see her co-hosting with him and having to pretty much be a contrast to his views and his opinions. So we're gonna watch a recent clip that they posted regarding the Republican platform. And what she has to say is pretty shocking. So let's watch it together, analyze, and discuss.
But at least he's savvy enough and his team is savvy enough to tell you the things you want to hear and to take out the ones you don't want, like abortion, right?
I'm gonna say something that you're gonna disagree with, but this is my view of Trump versus whoever the Democratic candidate typically is. Trump actually listens to his supporters. And I'm gonna give you a few examples from his first term. He was itching to go to war with Iran. You remember that? He was itching for it.
She's going in.
But the America First MAGA crowd, they're kind of isolationists. They don't want more war.
Yep.
And so I remember seeing headlines and I remember seeing commentary from his supporters saying that they didn't want him to go to war with Iran, and he listened. There were other examples as well, but look, you're right that he does what it takes to win. And so if he thinks moderating the message on abortion might help him win, he's gonna do that. But at the end of the day, what's been clear to me is that he seems to have more respect for his constituents, for his base, than Democrats do, okay?
I'm sorry, I gotta take a step back for a second because this is the same woman again who absolutely hated Donald Trump. Like I remember watching when I was on the left. She would go in on Donald Trump 24/7, 7 days a week. He's a monster, he's a demagogue, he's evil. And to hear her concede and say, you know what? Donald Trump actually listens to his constituents. He actually listens to the voters. He actually cares about what we think. He actually respects the voters. Like that's massive because that's her pretty much saying that Donald Trump is not some evil mastermind who just wants power and control. No, he actually is trying to work with the people to create a better America, however that may look. And again, this is the Young Turks, okay? That's like going on MSDNC and saying this. I mean, it's almost the same thing. So for her to say that, especially to Cenk, who is, I know, probably fuming right now, like, what?
All they understand is violence. I don't want it.
I love it. I love it. I love the fact that she is standing up and speaking up and not mimicking the talking points of the left. She's starting to frame her own perspectives and doesn't really care about the pushback that she's probably going to get from progressive leftists who are so extreme right now, you can't even have a conversation without them screaming at you and calling you a racist, a xenophobe, a transphobe, etc., etc. So for her to say that on that platform, I give her major props. I give her major props because it will be so easy to just sit and mimic what Cenk was saying about Donald Trump and just maybe feel what she feels in private but not say it on a podium. And instead, she's like, nope. Actually, Donald Trump listens to the people. The Democrats do not. Let's keep watching and see what Cenk's response is going to be.
Okay, Democrats will look at the policies that Democratic voters want in favor, and they'll basically say, F off, you have to support us because the other guy is evil and dangerous. Whereas Trump actually listens to his voters, and that's the reason why he has an energized base. They're galvanized, they're super excited to vote for him.
Yep.
Even when Biden didn't have all these negative headlines following his disastrous debate performance, do you think Democratic voters were super jazzed to vote for him?
Hell no.
Were they ever excited to vote for him?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm hearing people talking about Biden voters. I'm like, which Biden voters? So like, because for all the blue MAGA that's Biden voters, if you just told them the new leader is Kamala Harris or the new leader is Josh Shapiro, they'd be like, I'm voting for Josh Shapiro. So Biden doesn't have any voters who care about him. All of his voters just say, I will vote for anything Democratic leadership puts up in front of me. So his personal voters are zero. Anyway.
That's the problem with the Democrat Party right now, is they don't really have anyone that people are excited to vote for. Everyone on that side is voting against Donald Trump. They're not voting for Joe Biden. And it's been that way for the past couple of years now. The last time the base was galvanized on the left was for Obama. That was it. And we all know why. I'm not gonna say it, but we all know why.
I found out I have a black ancestor.
Is that right? Well, that's fantastic, Peter.
Yeah, but see, the problem is I got no idea how to be black.
And after him, it just kind of died down. The left was not excited about Hillary Clinton, even though the media pushed her down our throats. Didn't really work. And as we saw in 2020, no one was excited about Biden, but he was a default candidate to defeat Donald Trump. So they kind of just galvanized behind him. But the Democrats for the past 8 years have been a party that is on the defense, not the offense. So everything that they do is in response to the right. Every perspective that they have is to combat the right and Donald Trump, the threat, the boogeyman. And when you start to create a narrative like that, it doesn't really create a space for people to be excited for the candidate because it doesn't really matter who the candidate is. Like he said, it can be this person, that person, fill in the blank, doesn't really matter. We're gonna vote blue no matter who because that's what we do. Ooh, that rhymed. But seriously, like that's what the Democrat Party has become. And because there is nobody that is excited about the candidate, it's a boring procedure, it's a boring party. And what you're gonna have is people either not showing up to vote in November or voting for Donald Trump or even RFK, but they're not gonna vote for Biden. And that's why, in my opinion, Biden will lose because his base, like him, is dead.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics.
Anyways, now look, to your point, Anna, there's a couple of things, right? So I understand, yeah, I remember the time that he didn't do the bombing, etc. But on the other hand, he would do crazy things all the time. And that's why we were all on edge. And he would lie to you and tell you he was a populist and then pass a giant tax cut for corporations. The most record-breaking gift to corporate rule that any president's ever done. So let's not forget that he's actually totally full of crap.
Also, he did tax breaks. So that's the crazy thing that he did. Notice how, like most liberals on the left, they love to use exaggerated terms. Oh, he's done crazy things. And then they can't actually articulate the crazy things that he did. First, you told us he was Hitler. Then you told us he was Mussolini. Then you told us he was going to kill us all. Like, at some point, Democrats have to realize that this type of tone is not working. It's not working. See, it's like the boy who cried wolf. If you continuously say that this person is a boogeyman, the boogeyman, the boogeyman, the boogeyman, and then nothing actually happens, people start to catch on to what you're doing and you no longer have any credibility. So Cenk sitting here and saying that he's done crazy things and the only example he can bring up is tax breaks. Not a real strong argument, bro. Sorry. Because that's a typical Republican perspective anyway. Most Republicans do tax breaks for the wealthy. That's a Republican, I guess, ideology or playbook because they believe in trickle-down economics. So it's not really off-brand for Trump to do something that most Republicans in the past have done as well. So if that's your crazy example of what he's done that's so crazy, it's not really landing. See, they want Trump to be the Hitler. They want Trump to be this bombastic, crazy madman who can't think straight, who is locking people up, locking his political opponents up, and destroying mankind. And he's not doing that. He never did that. And that's why their platform is completely falling apart because you can't really say if Donald Trump gets in, A, B, and C are going to happen because guess what? Donald Trump was already in for 4 years and those things that you stated was going to happen didn't happen. So why is it suddenly going to happen now if he gets into office? What would change? He's the same person. In fact, he's actually more subdued than he was in the past because after that disastrous debate by Biden, the old Donald Trump would have been nonstop making fun of Biden and calling him out and using clips and name calling and doing the things that he would have done back in 2016. And you know what Donald Trump did this time? Nothing. He spoke about it once on Truth Social about how disastrous the debate was and how he won the debate. And then he was quiet the rest of the week while the Democrats destroy their own candidate. That to me shows growth. And after the assassination attempt, I think we're going to see a different tone from Donald Trump. And I think Democrats are pooping in their pants because they know that the crazy narrative of the crazy madman is not landing any longer, which is why people like Anna Kasparian are like, this is stupid. Like this type of word diarrhea is not working. Let's be pragmatic here. Let's be practical here. He isn't a bad guy. And it's just refreshing to see someone stand up against the machine and against Trump derangement syndrome like we see and actually speaking up and saying, no, that's actually not accurate. I want to show you guys another clip as well. Anna was on a podcast a couple of months back that I watched, and she was really explaining why her perspective on the left changed. What changed for her? And she goes into grave detail. And I relate to it a lot because, again, I used to be on the left. I wasn't as progressive as she is, but I definitely was in that mindset for quite some time. It's just refreshing to hear someone with a platform like hers not be afraid to admit when they were wrong. So let's watch a little bit of that.
I want to talk about the cultural political shift because you see people like Joe Rogan, like Elon Musk, and other people of influence seemingly moving a little bit towards more conservative principles. You see Elon replying to End Wokeness on Twitter, which is a popular conservative publication, which is interesting. He's interacting with like very conservative things. Elon recently collaborated for an hour with Ben Shapiro. More people appear to be aligning with conservative views. How many people are moving to the left these days, do you think?
I think the left is in a really bad place right now. And I think it's because they kind of lost the plot. And rather than focusing on the genuine economic concerns that I think we have some proposals to improve, a lot of the focus ended up being, and unfortunately, it's just representative of what you experience on social media. It's a small group of people who I think have hijacked the, for lack of a better word, branding of the left and what the left represents. And all they do all day is scold. Scold, 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 right? We're super pure. We're the best. We're the kindest. We have the biggest hearts. You have to use this rhetoric. You have to use this language. You have to believe this, that. And if you question anything, if you ask the wrong questions, you're a bad person. Everyone's a right-winger, by the way. Like, I'm a right-winger, according to the online left. It's absurd.
So I've seen that picture.
1000% agree. 1000% agree. My issue with the left has always been their sanctimonious attitude about everything, right? Like she said, telling you what words you must use, how you must think, what you can say, what you can't say, who you can support, who you can't support, what opinions you're allowed to have, what opinions you must keep to yourself. Very reminiscent of a communist system where they try to control your thoughts and control how you behave, essentially, right? They want to censor your speech to the 10th degree, and if you say one thing wrong, you get canceled, you get scolded, you get yelled at, you get put in the corner. You get called all types of ridiculous names like phobic. One thing I do disagree with her on is that it's not a small group that's just loud with voices on social media. It's actually becoming a plague within the movement on the left. We're seeing it constantly, right? I mean, the reason why you have men, biological men, competing in female sports is because those small voices that are now so loud are changing things in our culture and in our society, which is why you're seeing people allowing men in female spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms and, again, like sports. Those things are happening because of the cultural shift within the left and how loud their voices are. So I don't believe it's just a small group that's just really loud online. It's starting to infiltrate the rest of the country and the rest of our culture, which is a problem. Cancel culture is a problem across the board. It's not some small group online. It's affecting everyone in every aspect of society, from TV to news to, yes, social media to school to your job. I mean, it's just the regulations that we're seeing with cancel culture because of the left is so strong right now. It feels like we're living in the Soviet Union. Honestly, it really does. Like, the things we can't say anymore. It's crazy. And this is why people are pushing back. People who are more moderate or even left-leaning are now like, well, I guess I'm right-wing now. Because if you don't agree with the extremism on the left, suddenly you are a right-winger. Most of us are just moderate. Honestly, we're not really right-wing. But because of how extreme the left has become, and again, it's not just a small group, it's a plague. It's why we're seeing this shift of so many people leaving the left in droves and saying, I'm good. Goodbye. Peace out. If this is what the left is now representing, I don't want to be a part of that. No, thank you. I don't want to be regulated. I'm good. Think about it. You have the left constantly saying that Republicans want to regulate women's bodies and Republicans want to regulate people, but the Democrats are the ones that are so fixated on big government controlling everything, regulating everything, including our speech, our thoughts. People are not okay with that. And that's why this shift is happening. And I think that's why the shift happened with her as well. The exodus is happening. Latinos, African Americans, people are starting to see what's happening and they're no longer buying or drinking the blue Kool-Aid. They're done. And I love it. I freaking love it. I'm going to have a link in my description of both videos that you can watch, one of the podcast and the other of the original video from the Young Turks, where she is pretty much debating Cenk and letting him know that, no, Donald Trump isn't so bad. He isn't so bad. Which is so funny because it's such a contrast to where she was back in the day. But I love it because, like I said, I also was a never Trumper. I also was somebody who couldn't stand Donald Trump, who hated everything that he stood for, until I started becoming a free thinker and I started seeing the flaws of the left, and is what made me leave for good. So let this be a lesson for all of us that people do change. Don't be so quick to just throw somebody away because they once had an opinion. People change, people evolve. Allow them to evolve. Allow them to go through the process of figuring things out for themselves. Because at the end of the day, what we all want is a better America. And the only way to get there is by talking to each other and figuring things out, as opposed to saying, oh, you're on the left? Ain't talking to you. That perspective wouldn't allow me to have a platform today because I used to be on the left. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video and this topic, what you think of Anna Kasparian completely making a shift that a lot of us did not see coming. What do you think about it? Let me know down below. And were you once on the left? And if so, what made you change and come over to the right? If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video. If you want to watch more videos of me, click on the link over here to watch more of yours truly. Until next time, peace.